The Spin-off Podcast Network.
This is Kiwi is back for a brand new season with more inspiring kōrero from special guests including rugby player, father and role model TJ Perenara.
My family bring me joy. Rugby brings me joy too, but it's not the same joy as my family brings me.
And global dancer and choreographer Kirsten Dodgen.
For some reason, people think I'm very intimidating.
Listen to the new season of This is Kiwi, brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in collaboration with KiwiBank. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Talofa Lover. I'm Madeline Chapman, editor at The Spin-off. If you have the means, consider supporting our high-quality journalism by becoming a Spin-off member. Sign up now at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
Hi, I'm Brian Crump, host of Sci-Fi Sci-Fact, a new RNZ podcast in which we take some of science fiction's strangest ideas and explore if they could really happen. Maybe they already have. You can find Sci-Fi Sci-Fact on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, basically anywhere you get your podcasts from.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Jane Yee, 1/3 of the Real Pod hosting team. Though I'm flying solo for a moment, just to let you know we're having a wee summer break, but we don't want your feed to start growing mushrooms. So over the next few weeks, we're revisiting some of our favourite episodes of 2021, and we're kicking things off with patron saint of the Real Pod, Colin Mathura-Jeffree. In June, back in the lovely in-between times, the style icon, model, presenter, Lexus ambassador and man about town joined us in the studio for a bumper edition of Colin's Cranny to celebrate Gossip Week on the Spin-off. Happy summer.
Well, cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Here's to gossip.
Should we get into the gossip?
Let's get
into it. Kia ora and welcome along to a very special pop-up edition of The Real Pod. My name's Jane Yee. I'm joined by Duncan Grieve and Alex Casey, your usual host, but also...
Colin's Cranny, Colin's Cranny, Colin's Cranny, Cranny.
Colin's Cranny.
Colin Mathura-Jeffree. Welcome along.
I'm so happy to be here. I love you guys.
Oh, we love you too. We're rounding up Gossip Week here on the Spin-off, and this is the moment it's all been leading up to, basically. We're going to talk gossip and set the scene for us, Alex. What's in front of you here?
Well, you've put on a lovely spread, Jane. We've got a Nando's sauce bucket.
Okay, I don't feel like I want to be blamed for this. I think we've put on a spread.
A Nando's sauce bucket, which is actually a nice bucket full of ice and also a lovely... Is this champagne?
Yeah.
It is champagne.
This is verified champagne and some cream donuts and lamingtons, which I believe are two of your favourite things.
They are my absolute favourite. When I was at university, I'd eat so many donuts as a model, and my friends would go, one day that'll catch up with you. And it has.
I'd argue that it hasn't. I do need to apologise for the high-low nature of the spread in front of you. The bakery that I went to, not the best.
Possibly the worst.
Possibly the very, very worst. It is fresh cream.
Reassuring.
It's not mock cream, but we're all in this together, you know? Sometimes you just got to live life on the edge, right?
When I did Hottest Home Baker, I'd often, whatever I put in my mouth, I'd go, what doesn't, kill me? Only makes me thinner. So I'm all for it. Put some oysters on there.
Should we open the bubs?
Yes.
Okay, I feel like you'd be good at this, Colin.
I just love it.
Now, how
It
essential
smells.
is like bubbles to gossip, Colin? And your
Terrible.
Right.
I mean, in my own situation, I've revealed information, and is this why we're having this? Because I've revealed too much information afterward. Because I love loose lips, sink ships, and bubbles. Absolutely loosens the lip.
All right, let's sink some ships. What is the craziest piece of gossip you've heard about yourself?
I think I've heard negative things about me, and I think it depends on what's crazy. When you hear gossip about other people, you can have a great laugh about it, but then when it's about yourself, you take it very personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard terrible things about me from absolute strangers, and then I've heard really funny things like I'm worth about $80 million and things like that, so ridiculous things. So it either goes one or the other.
Where does this gossip come from when it's about yourself? Do you hear it when you're out and about with the bubbles, etc.? Is this online? Where is it happening?
Never people that know you, really. And like I tell my friends, you can't stamp it shut. You've got to let it grow. You've got to actually take all the poison and then give it to me. Like, tell me. And then ring me and let me have it out publicly with this person, or tell me and I'll turn up.
But when there is potentially damaging information doing the rounds about you, whether it's true or not, how tempting is it to get involved and set the record straight?
I've done that. I've hunted down the people.
Okay, tell us more.
How do they respond?
I feel like I remember a very specific tweet that mentioned, I will find you. I will hunt you down. What's that about?
Well, I'm not afraid. You know, often we're told, whether when I've been on television, etc., to not engage. But there's no support. There's no... And then also, if your friends are forced to back you up, that's not fair.
So how do people, so when you get to the source, like someone...
So when I get to the source, like when I find them
Yeah.
and walk into their work and walk straight up to them and say, hello, you have something to say to me.
I hope that's not what this is.
No.
You did literally just walk into our work right up to us.
Hello.
And you
I don't give you
distracted me with
champagne,
donuts.
no. That's how you do it. So this has happened.
Yeah.
So describe an example of that. And so how did... the thing I'm curious about is how they respond and what their sort of... their cover story or their explanation is for it.
Being in a bar having a drink, and there was a person who was saying really negative things about me online, and people would screen grab it and send it to me, and I thought, I don't know this person, and say just really awful things, but spelling my name slightly off, so I don't, I can't see it or anything.
It's not coming up in your Google name search alert.
When I'm searching myself every morning. No, I don't. And but then I looked up the person, and I worked out where they worked. I worked out who they were and everything. Then I'm in this bar having a drink with my brother and some friends, and I look, and this person walks in with his friends. They sit down at the table, and I waited until they were comfortable, and then I walked and stood right over the person. I said, "Hi, so you have a lot to say about me. Let's hear it all." And he looked up, and I said, "Why so quiet?" And he looked horrified. I said, "Do you have anything to say?" And he just couldn't look at me. He just sat there. It was like he was shrinking. And I smiled, and I said, "Nothing at all." I said, "That's really disappointing. I expected a lot more in this moment because you're such a big man online." And then I walked over, and as I was walking back, all my friends started clapping, and I turned around, and they were all leaving. They all, as soon as I turned my back and was 3 feet away, they fled.
And you never heard from him again? He stopped?
Never.
Right.
Something I want to know about you is that you are very good at keeping secrets. You know a lot about a lot of people, but you pride yourself on
I do.
being a bit of a lockbox. My question is, how do you keep secrets?
I think upbringing. I think I was really told, if you're privy to some information, really do keep it to yourself. But a couple of things happen there. I do find it strange when people start sharing secrets with me, and sometimes I've gone, stop right there. That's a bit too much information for me, and I don't want to compromise you or me in a situation.
God, you're good.
It's so responsible. I would never do that.
Neither.
And I'll be 3 bottles deep in something.
That's amazing self-control, because I would be, give me the tea. I'll do my best to hold on to it, but she's a leaky little vessel.
The ship.
But you're right.
sinking.
Sometimes other people's secrets, especially when you're holding so many, can become a weight of sorts,
a
right?
burden. And also, I went to lunch with Lorraine Downs, and we actually talked a bit about gossiping people. And someone had just said, "Is Lorraine dating someone?" And I said, I don't know. And they said, she's dating this man. And I was like, oh, just as I was going into lunch with Lorraine. And then Lorraine said, "I'm seeing someone." It hadn't been revealed. And I went, oh. And then she just looked at me. The look was just piercing. And she said, "Do you know I'm seeing him?" And I just, yes, and because I couldn't lie. I couldn't. But what had happened, again, unfortunately, in that moment, I was given some information and told, don't say anything. And I hate that. provided some gossip, but then don't say anything. And then...
so you're essentially forced into a lie to a friend.
Yeah, and I don't want to lie. So I said, yes, I do know. And are you in love? And she said, yeah, I am. And then we just went on to this really open, lovely tangent. And not that this is the reason why, but when I got home, she had changed her relationship status. And I thought, oh, that's beautiful.
But maybe it was you.
No,
maybe
it
you gave
isn't.
her the confidence to just make it public.
No, I think she was ready to, but it was an interesting. I love Lorraine, and it was an interesting moment, about gossip.
Mm.
When you think back over, because in my mind, there were these sort of, there's Felicity Ferret, and then there's Bridget Saunders, and then there was sort of
Riccardo
Rachel Glucina. Like, who do you think did it best? Like, because the period I most enjoyed was Bridget Saunders, mid-2000s. It just felt like there was this real funny chaos about Auckland's social scene.
I kind of loved that when Rachel Glucina came up at the same time as Bridget Saunders.
And they and there was a battle of the gossip.
rivalry.
It was.
Yeah.
That was great.
And it was savage.
Because their competition is what makes, then there is an economic incentive for you to beat your rival. So you're...
And be more ahead of the game in terms of what is more relevant and what's more current and what's in that instant moment of what is now the hot gossip in town. And there was so much gossip going on. It was a real heyday because there were genuinely amazing celebrities. There was tits and ass, wild affairs and everything going on. And sports stars and...
Yeah, like you had Matthew Ridge and Mark Ellis and Asia Rock and...
Just naughty people having a naughty time.
Having a bloody fun time.
Yeah, having a great fun time. And then...
Well, you were in that sort of milieu.
Well, yeah, I'd be partying with all of them. I know things about all of them.
Huge gulp of champagne there.
the period we're talking about was the last pre-social media era. In a way, and in some ways it functioned as a proxy for that, in that it was, a way of information sharing outside of a kind of normal ecosystems that had some of those qualities. And it's weird to think that in the social media era, which you would sort of reflexively, if you were to have it described to you, think, oh, that's going to be amazing for gossip, but it kind of weirdly isn't. It's just created this new class of celebrity, which are influencers that I gather you may or may not have an opinion on, who seem to be both at once like they should be amazing at it, but they're not.
Celebrities, influencers are not celebrities. They're not to be celebrated. They're just awful. They're stupid. I've never seen such a lack of class with a type of person than an influencer. At events, they are nasty in a little mini conversation. Then they turn around the person they're talking to. They're all hugs and kisses. What are you up to? Where are you going? How are you? And I'm there just, what is happening? They are so toxic. Like I'm in there with them, and they've actually put me off going to events. I walk in there. I walk into some events and I look, and I'm just grabbing the champagne. I have a better conversation with the waiting staff about intellectual things than someone who's stealing pillows and then two goodie bags, and you see them emptying goodie bags.
I'm sorry, but I have to. Alex,
we get into that, but we're not influencers.
We're not influencers, but I've definitely seen. I've seen you grab at more candles than we were entitled to.
A Koya on the cinema seats. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You see that? You're sweeping that into your bag. That comes at a
You can't blame an influencer for that.
The influencers don't have anything because I've already done
maybe I am blanketing a little bit, but it's just I've been around a few of them and I've just gone, whoa. Like they come up to me and they ask me 1,000 questions, but they don't even like, you can I just come from an industry built on illusion, so I don't see any. So I can see that they don't like me. And so why talk to me? So I try to extricate myself. But then all of a sudden, someone will turn up with a camera, Nori or someone, and then they're right on me.
we can talk about Nori, because you said Nori or someone. Who's or someone? Because in my mind, there is only one celebrity photographer in this country.
Nori.
And it's Nori.
Like Nori does his homework. He knows the who's who, and he listens to the PR bosses that go, they'll have a list.
That's why we've been at many events with Nori, and he once took our photo
By
grudgingly
accident.
by
Sure.
mistake.
He was checking the white balance on my face.
So, like that just shows that's a pro, when they have that kind of information.
But Spy has shrunk a lot, right? Like, what do you think is the value of those social pages now?
I think things like the spin-off people are tuning into, but not necessarily the Herald. It's not. Remember, there was the day that people would treasure that Sunday paper, and I'd wander up the road and grab a copy and see myself in the pages, and people, and Ricardo would ring me and say, "Oh, you get hate mail about being in there." I go, "Oh, that's fantastic."
Well, he gets people complain because you're there.
I would be in there, and people would complain about me being in there, and I would draw it up. I would say things like, "Ricardo, why am I standing out?" And he'd go, "Well," we would discuss that potentially it's because I'm ethnic and I'm standing out in a crowd, and then people are saying you're at every party. And I wasn't. So it would be one of those moments that I would reflect on where I stand in society to the people that are viewing. It's an interesting anthropological point of view. Look at me using all these big words.
I love it. It's interesting to me that the heyday of these Sunday gossip pages, in as much as they reported on the celebrities, they also made them, because in that pre-internet era, they were the ones who decided who it was that we should be reading about, who was interesting. Whereas now that's completely diluted with the internet.
That era, certain players would really play up.
Oh, yeah.
For the noise. And people would feed off it and love how naughty they were. But also, it was edited as well. So what we got was actually less than what was happening.
Right.
Lots of keys in the bowl.
And I'm sure that sort of stuff is still happening. It's just not presented to us in the same way, because people have a greater control over what they're putting out through their own channels, right?
Or is it? Because I wonder whether it's still happening, because the danger of, if everyone's walking around with a 4K broadcast device in their pocket at all times, you just got to be on guard.
You used to get calls a lot, didn't you? For gossip in your own life?
I still do get calls, but they would ring me up and ask about sometimes about me in some sort of given situation, or actually about other people, and they'd know I'd be privy to the information, and I would just say, yes, I do know, and no, I can't talk about it.
There was an instance on an aeroplane with a wedding dress.
So I was on an aeroplane down to Christchurch, and Kate Lynch then was marrying Andrew Gordy, the presenter of sports, and he wasn't on the flight, but she was, with her entire family. And they said there was sort of a hi, Colin, and everything. We sat down. They were towards the back of the plane. I was right at the front. Is that...
1A?
I was practically sitting on the captain's lap. I think I landed the plane. But when she said, she came up, she said, "I've got my wedding dress there. Can I show it to you?" And it was such a wonderful moment. And I said, "Oh, absolutely." So we got off the plane. I waited. They came off, the whole body of family. So everyone had sort of gone, and it was just sort of myself and the family. So I looked at it. It was beautiful, and I was like, "Wow!" And then I gave her instruction on how she should do her hair. With this dress, your hair should be like this. Then we zipped it up, and I gave her a big hug and hugged the mother and everyone else, and then they all left. And literally 3 minutes later, Rachel Glusina rang my phone, and I was like, "Hello," and she said, "Hi, Colin, it's Rachel. You saw the dress," and I was like, "How? What?" Whoa. And she goes, "I want to know your opinion." And I said, "Yeah, I did see the dress." And who told you? And she goes, I can't reveal that to you. And I said, "Rachel, I can't share that. This is a private thing. I think they may be linked to a news story, a magazine story. And I'm not sharing anything like that." And I'm like, my brain is going like wildfire in the airport. I froze. I stood there, and And I'm looking around, and who talked? You know, who spoke to her? Who rang her within that moment? You know, then she said to me, just tell me, is it a beautiful dress? And I said, it's obviously a beautiful dress. You know, it's obviously she's a beautiful woman. It's a beautiful dress. That's all. Thank you. Goodbye. Hung up the phone. Then because I was on the cycle of Baker and Top Model, I rang TV3 Publicity straight into Nicole Wood. And I said, Nicole, this just happened to me. And she said, don't say anything. I said, Nicole, what? Don't say anything. I've already just been through this moment. And then she said, what did you say? And I told her the situation. And then she goes, oh, this is so strange. Don't worry, I'll handle it. And I said, thank you. And I wanted to be really transparent because I couldn't risk what was going to be said. Then on Sunday, the papers come out.
Uh-oh.
And I ran up the road, and I opened the paper, and it said, Colin was, I think, frothing or fizzing about the wedding dress. But you know what was great is I had a direct line of clarity to say I didn't talk. Nicole would have known how honest I was. Kate, Andrew, the family, they potentially would have known through Nicole. But, you know, just betrayed in that moment to act as though I was on side with the information, my name clearly there. And I knew that whoever they'd sold their wedding story to, Women's Weekly, Women's Day, New Idea, whoever, all those journalists have been going, oh, how dare Colin, not even caring to know whether it was true or not. They would have just, I could imagine they were all just quacking, you know, with all their noise and stupidity, and I'm not valuing my integrity in that moment. But then I did think,
who's the snitch?
Who did it?
The only people around was Kate and her family.
I mean, what does that tell you?
If I bumped into you at an airport and I was about to get married, I would show you my dress and I would bring the papers. That's just what I would do. I don't know.
Hey, we're going to be back shortly with more from Colin Mathura-Jeffree on gossip. We'll just take a quick break, have a stretch, and we'll talk to you soon. Talk to you soon, like we're on the phone to you.
When you choose to invest, your money has power. Avoiding companies that finance weapons production or ignore climate change is important. But impact investing goes beyond just avoiding harmful behaviours. It's an opportunity to invest in companies that are actually improving the world. Invest in a better future with the Harbour Sustainable Impact Fund. Grow your wealth and make a positive impact on the world. This is not personalised advice. A disclaimer and the product disclosure statement for Harbour investment funds issued by Harbour Asset Management is available at harbourasset.co.nz.
Hi, I'm Brian Crump, host of Sci-Fi Sci-Fact, a new RNZ podcast in which we take some of science fiction's strangest ideas and explore if they could really happen. With the help of scientists from New Zealand's McDiarmid Institute, we'll look at all your favourite science fiction characters, from Wolverine to Rumpelstiltskin, Doctor Who to Luke Skywalker. You can find Sci-Fi Sci-Fact on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, basically anywhere you get your podcasts from.
We back?
Oh, we're back. Sorry. We're back. We had a snack break.
I did some gossiping.
We did some gossiping, obviously.
No, we actually didn't. We should have.
No, we just talked about the snacks. The donut's actually quite good.
I want to retract any shade towards the plucky bakery that could. I want to talk to you about publicists, because I know a few publicists who are just extraordinary all-world gossips, and I think they do it because they love it, and it's a natural thing to be when you occupy that position. But that feels like, for the most part, it feels like they're doing that for fun rather than profit. What's your sort of experience of that?
I think that they're doing it for profit and they're having fun.
Oh, that sounds good.
You know, I think that if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense to these people.
Duncan wants to know all about how publicists fit into the picture. He's just doing a mini episode of The Fold here. I want to know the tea. I want to know some stories. I want to know, don't have to give us names, but you must have some good stories.
Well, I knew affairs before they were happening. I would be privy to it as it was rolling out.
Oh.
And sometimes, again, I would feel I'm being fed the information because they're wanting the information out there. They're wanting me to loose lips, sink ships, be a sack of grain, and did you know? And but that kind of affairs and plastic surgery and, things like that have been called up and actually been told da-da-da's had this and that and this and that, but she's saying it's a spider bite. And
I remember an anal bleaching gossip story from many, many years ago. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
And now that's just like, honestly, every man and his dog on Instagram, they're basically showing you how it's done. But that was like a big deal at the time.
So where did this come from?
There was a celebrity who
New
was
Zealand
part... Yeah, the
celebrity.
New Zealand celebrity.
Charlotte.
It was Charlotte.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was just this big story that she had anal bleaching done and we were all mortified.
The thing about Charlotte was she was so open. If you asked her,
She
she
would
would
have
have
told you.
shown you.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I was in the bathroom with someone who had just had their breasts augmented, and she dragged me into the toilet, ripped open her top, and said, "Look at my tits." And I was like, wow, they're amazing. And she goes, grab them. And I was like, and then Charlotte walks in, pulls her panties down and goes for a whistle. And I'm thinking, where am I? Why me?
Your world is wild.
Why me?
Someone at the Casey Clinic once told me the reason I was suffering from bad skin was because I had too many secrets. Now I look at you.
Whoa, what?
You have very good skin.
Yeah.
That happened to me.
That's a medical practice. This was like a medical professional.
She did preface it with, I'm not supposed to tell people this.
Whoa,
So
yeah,
that's
no,
like
good
not
reason,
a doctor's
though.
advice. But anyway, she genuinely said that. She was like, keeping too many secrets is bad for your skin. But I look at someone like yourself and I don't see that.
49 years old.
49 years young.
Gorgeous.
I think that too many secrets are. Like, I think anything that we overtly carry on our shoulders and we suffer under will have a physical manifestation. I'm really shocked about the big words I'm using. I think I'm trying to impress Jane.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Me? I know no big words.
I know, even I'm surprised.
I know, no.
I thought it was going to be Duncan, but it's you.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. That is gossip.
But I think it is potentially a manifestation, but that it's also noise and nonsense. It probably is because you're eating things that you've got an allergy to. And
Oh, exactly.
Calls it as he sees, Alex. Have a donut. Hey, are affairs the holy grail of gossip?
I think they are because they represent breakups of relationships, which we as humans hold as something really special. Mm-hmm. The unfortunate thing is there's always the person that's thrown in the negative light. Sometimes when a relationship is over, just let it be over.
Colin, thank you so very much. We could probably talk forever, but we can't because Duncan's got to go. There's another podcast that's supposed to start recording 4 minutes ago. So we just want to say a big thank you. And we appreciate that you have just such good humour about our Colin's Cranny segment.
Oh, I love it.
Podcast
This is the biggest cranny yet, in a way.
It is. This is full cran.
Cavernous.
Cavernous even. No, I love it. And more power to you guys. And yeah, just keep it up. I think people really appreciate what they get from the spin-off and all of you, even you, Duncan.
Even you, Duncan. And on that
That's so
note,
kind.
thank you, Colin. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Tina, for recording. And thank you guys for enjoying Gossip Week on the spin-off. When's your 50th? That's just
Next year.
And do we...
And it's going to be a ball.
Are we going to... Will we make
That's
the
a
list?
gossip. Of course.
Oh, love it.
A ball.
A ball. I want to do something
I've
really
never
special.
been to a ball.
Colin's Cranny.
Are you curious about how business can be better? I'm Simon Pound, and I host Business is Boring, a podcast where I cordial with some of the most interesting people in entrepreneurship, commerce, and making things happen. Tune in to Business is Boring every Tuesday, brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in partnership with Spark Business Lab.
Kia ora, I'm Alex Casey, Senior Writer at The Spin-off. We wouldn't exist without the ongoing support of our generous members. If you're able to, you can make a donation at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
The Spin-off Podcast Network.